All right, we have an update on school closure.
Yeah, mostly I thought I would kind of give you a brief update and maybe answer any questions folks may have. This is certainly something we weren't anticipating when this meeting was selected a while back. Where to begin? So schools are closed. It's been a very interesting run of a couple of weeks here, just trying to make sense of the vast amount and varying sort of thoughts around the directives and recommendations coming from the president, the governor, and the secretary of ed, and community members and teachers and administrators, and trying to reconcile all of that as we figure out what makes sense for our students, for our staff, for our community, for the greater community. And it's been, to put it in perspective, I'm concerned I haven't checked my email in the last hour and 40 minutes because a lot could have changed even in the last hour and 40 minutes in terms of what makes sense. As it currently stands, schools are expected through this variety of directives and suggestions and whatnot to maintain learning and eventually transition into continuation of learning. The difference being continuation is we're talking new learning, maintenance is we're not talking new learning. So schools are expected to maintain learning, feed kids, provide childcare, and in an address to a public address today, the Secretary of Education said staff who are over 60 or are anxious don't need to report to work. What we've been wrestling with today is how do I maintain learning, feed kids, provide childcare if people have the option to come to work or not? Like, it takes some bodies to do those things. So trying to navigate how that works and trying to be sensitive to a whole range of different sort of personnel experiences that they're having, whether it is something that's anxiety producing or they have their own medical conditions or their family members have medical conditions or they've been in contact with someone who is perhaps positive, but just the whole range of challenges that come about as we work to do those things has been really interesting and challenging. I guess one of the things, and that's probably not news to anybody, one of the takeaways that I think is most important here is the strength of our team, the strength of our system, the strength of the people that work in our organization and the people that live in our community is really showing strong. And that's been great to see. The number of emails that I've seen that are offering to help in any way possible, the number of emails that I'm seeing that are appreciative of the efforts to try and do what's right, far outnumber the emails I'm seeing to the other effect. And it's really heartening to see that. And I'm super optimistic that we're going to be able to figure out a way to make things work really well for our students. It's really unprecedented times, and there are plenty of uncertainties still. The one thing I am certain of is we're going to do something great. I don't know exactly what it looks like yet. We have lots of plans in place ready to go. And we're gonna work those plans, and we're gonna adjust as we try these new things and iron out some of the wrinkles that are going to be inevitable. But keeping a focus on everyone's well-being and taking care of our community is really what's going to be the thread throughout all of the work that we have done and will continue to do going forward. So that's obviously, there are loads and loads and loads of details. I won't go into those, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have about the preparation that's been happening and will go forward.
This is Sarah. I have a question, about how many of our students do not have access to internet.
We're trying to get that information. We don't have it pinned down right now. The information we do have is that it's a pretty small percentage. I would say well under 25%, perhaps well under 10%, but we don't have that information yet. So we're developing plans that primarily lean on sort of the online remote learning, and we're developing plans to have more hard copy opportunities for kids that will be either delivered or available for pickup for those families that struggle with connectivity. And we also have put out to families, if they don't have connectivity and are interested in pursuing low cost or free options for connectivity, to reach out with folks at their child's school, and we'll do our part to try and help connect them with resources. And the resources vary depending on where they live. What's available to people in Bristol Village is different than what's available to people way out in Lincoln. So we'll do our best to try and help support them through that.
Dave?
So this is a huge task you're undertaking, and we could go on probably for hours. But I would like, if you can, share a little bit about how you plan to feed kids.
Sure, so that's the most concrete thing right now, and we're planning to feed kids tomorrow morning. So we've been working very closely with Veta Transit, so we're going to be running bus routes, and we're going to have meals on those bus routes, and we already have people signed up to ride those buses to help distribute those meals. There are still federal regulations, there are still things that we have to do the right way, and those are all those plans are in place. So tomorrow morning we have 19 buses and 2 or 3 people on each of those buses running these bus routes out into the communities, delivering those meals. And we're going to have pickup sites for if we miss somebody on this bus route. So it's basically a 2-hour delay schedule, which everyone is familiar with because we've had those. So anyone we might miss, they can show up at one of our pickup locations at the times that are designated in a flyer that went out, so that we can catch anybody that we might have missed. And it's any student under 18. You don't have to. There's no qualification for free reduced lunch. It's none of that. Any student under 18. And the reality is, if a parent shows up and says, I have 3 kids, they're not with me, can I get 3 meals? We're going to give them 3 meals. So our disposition is we're feeding people, and we're going to make that available in multiple ways. The system that we're building for food distribution is also a system we can use for perhaps Chromebook distribution if they haven't already taken those home, or packet distribution if we're doing hard copy packets for some families. So really tying all of that together. And if they left their snow pants at home, we can distribute those through this method as well. So we've talked about that.
So
Thank you.
Welcome.
the food distribution would be, there's a breakfast meal, a lunch meal, is there a
Breakfast,
snack meal? So they
breakfast and lunch.
go out at different times during the day then?
We're going to be going in the middle of the day. So the idea, I think, is once we get rolling is that, maybe it'll be lunch for that day and breakfast for the next day, and kind of get ahead of it that way. And it might, I'd have to double check, but perhaps even thinking on Friday of multiple meals going out, thinking about the weekend. So really, again, just trying to make sure that that basic need is met, which is a challenge for some of our families. And even for those that it's not necessarily a challenge, to take one thing off of what is now on families' plates offers a little bit of sort of eases the ask of parents.
Patrick, this is Krista. I was just wondering what precautions you're taking for staff that are coming in, because I think, am I right that staff are coming in tomorrow and Friday maybe?
Yep.
I was just wondering what that's good.
Sure, so definitely, and we've been really working to try to find that ground of making sure the work gets done and needs are met, and being sure that we're following guidelines and precautions and things. So staff are coming in tomorrow and Friday. They're going to be working in small groups under 10, or 10 at the max. So that is going to allow for social distancing to take place. Schools are being disinfected daily. Obviously, folks can be bringing in hand sanitizer. They can do their part as well. And right now, the ask for professional staff is going to be fairly limited, potentially a few hours tomorrow. With the goal being that with a few hours physically present tomorrow, we can have plans in place and people can work remotely Friday and into next week. And obviously there are a lot more details as we get further away from tomorrow and Friday that we need to work out. But the goal being to work toward remote working as quickly and as effectively as possible. Support staff are in a little different boat, right? So in a sort of an ongoing way, our teaching staff are going to be able to work remotely and support kids through that mechanism, so might not have to come to school physically often at all. In fact, our goal is to not have them come to school physically often at all. There are other things. We can't feed kids remotely, we can't clean our schools remotely, we can't prepare our meals remotely. So we are going to have things that we need people to physically come to school for in an ongoing way, and our effort is to try and balance what we're doing, what we're asking of folks. So for example, I think I shared with all of you the joint communication that came out from the MAEA and our leadership here at MAUSD, really clarifying for folks, like the big worry for folks has been, am I going to not get paid? So in particular, hourly folks really worried about that loss of income, and we made it clear we're committed to ensuring people get paid. And the flip side to that is we may need to ask people to do things that are different from what we would normally ask them to do. And there was tremendous agreement with our local union in that approach. It alleviated a concern. There was recognition that this is an all hands on deck. We need to do whatever's necessary to make this work well for our families. And so that's kind of what we're operating under. So we're going to be asking a lot of support staff to deliver meals or help disinfect things that are different than what we might normally ask. And the reality is we probably don't need the same sort of people hours that we may typically need when school's open. So we're going to try to equitably distribute the hours that we do need, so that it's, because everyone's getting paid their usual pay, we're asking comparable work out of everyone. So the burden doesn't fall entirely on one subgroup and not at all on a different subgroup.
Kevin?
Daycare. So there's kiddos out of school. Parents might be home, parents might not be, parents might be in what could be considered a critical position at their place of employment. Are schools sheltering? I know sheltering is not the right word, but are schools open for kids to come to, or how does all that come together?
So there's a lot of clarity still needed exactly what this looks like. What seems clear is the directive from the governor and the secretary is that schools are expected to provide childcare for essential employees. Our understanding of the term essential employee includes, it might be people that work in the government, it might be people that work in healthcare, and it might be educators. We've extended that to, if we need support staff to come in and prepare meals to feed kids, we may need to provide childcare to those food service workers so that they can do their job to make sure the kids get fed. So we happen to have
sometimes garbage.
we happen to have a licensed childcare program. Not all school districts have licensed childcare programs. So as educational institution, we're not licensed to provide childcare. We're licensed to provide education. Our expanded learning program is licensed childcare program for school-age children, 5 and up. We do have a pre-K program, so that would cover us for their pre-K education program, not so much childcare, but the licensing requirements are being sort of loosened a bit to enable things to just sort of work and meet needs. So we may be expanding into care for 3 and 4-year-olds. Right now, the plan, we're sort of, in terms of childcare, we plan for Thursday and Friday. And we know we need to plan additionally for beyond that. But right now, we recognized we may have a number of staff members that can't come in because their children are not able to go to their childcare, and we need these people to be in doing their work. So we're set up for tomorrow and for Friday for school-age children, because that's what we're properly licensed for, to provide childcare to our staff that we need to come in and do our work. We haven't had any requests that I'm aware of from healthcare providers to provide childcare, but the idea is if there's a need, that schools are flexible in helping to meet that need. Again, so before noon today, I was feeling pretty confident in our ability to deliver childcare and meet these needs and be flexible and try to help in any way that we can, because I think we have great people that can provide a great service. Until, again, the message went out, people can choose to work or not, given those two conditions, if you're over 60 or if you have anxiety. I'm now concerned what's our workforce going to look like to be able to deliver all these things. If all of my support staff says either A, I'm over 60, or B, I'm anxious, therefore I don't feel I should be coming to work, and I'm expecting to still get paid, I don't know how well we'll be able to carry out what has been directed of us.
Caleb, are you waiting? Caleb?
I'm not waiting.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I didn't know if I was waiting. I'm listening,
Okay, I just wasn't,
but not waiting. Sorry.
okay.
But I didn't
Kevin?
hear, I didn't hear in that group of critical employees that it would also include private employers.
That's not my understanding of the definition right now.
I can't hear Kevin, sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Oh, I had a follow-up question for Patrick in that I didn't hear that if you were considered a critical person within a private company, that it excludes, what he's set up right now would exclude anybody in private employment. And he concurred with that.
The governor made an announcement that's a little ambiguous about private subsidies for private companies, but it's hard to know how that would play out.
Patrick, I can only say thank you. And did you have a class in grad school about this? Disaster management?
We could write a
This is
book
disaster
about.
management. Are you getting a lot of help from the state and this is just beyond your role, really.
Yeah, I would say, so there are two places I would say that I get a lot of support. And that's in our organization, our people, our community. That's one. And the community of superintendents, I would say, is the other. Tremendous support there. I can't say that I've felt tremendous support from any other organization. Confusion, like it doesn't feel supportive to make directives and then diminish the ability to utilize a workforce to meet those directives, like that.
Yeah.
That's
So
indicative
I
of
heard-
what I've been feeling
No.
from the higher ups.
I heard on the radio tonight, because I went to the grocery store, God help me, I'm glad I'm not in the room with you, that Neil Lunderville and Shumlin's, what were they? You might know, Dave. They were
Chief of staff or something.
number one people that they've been hired by the governor to interface with schools on this, and they started working today, I think. So I don't know if you had heard that, but those two are on it. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, I haven't heard that. I have heard the notion expressed that there's been communication with schools throughout. The communication that I've been a part of feels more like schools are being told what their expectations are, more than necessarily a back and forth collaboration about what's reasonable, what supports are needed, etc. Hopefully that improves, maybe with additional resources. That will make sense, that will work well. And I also can appreciate the kind of pressure the governor's getting, and the Secretary of Ed, and the Commissioner of Health, and this is unprecedented. And the balance between what the data suggests is the right thing to do and what the public sentiment is, that has been something that has been real and has been difficult. Unfortunately, we as superintendents live in a world where the public sentiment is what we feel much more so than what the data is suggesting.
Well, again, thank you, and if there's anything we can do to help, let us know,
Great.
please.
You're here.
This is Krista. I also just wanted to appreciate the communication, which is, I think, really important and also takes time to put together. So there's been a lot of communication, which is awesome. And I think, as things settle in, probably there won't need to be quite as much, but I would hope that we can still have some, even like weekly updates from principals or from you or both. Just folks, I think, feel a little better when they hear from our top dogs.
Yep. That's what I'll be doing after this meeting tonight.
Sarah?
I also want to say thank you. I was incredibly impressed with how prepared my kids were on Monday and what they came home with. And I'm just saying that from the parent perspective and all the communication. I'm trying to work through it on my own then as a faculty member, and it's a lot of work, and I really appreciate what was done from the entire educational community in the district.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Let me know if you want to ride a bus and deliver meals.
All right.
Patrick, how many more people do you need to be on the buses tomorrow?
I think we covered it for tomorrow, and we have a couple of extras, so that's good. I think we're in pretty good shape for tomorrow and Friday. And tomorrow and Friday are the 2 days that we were most concerned about, because when we get into the remote learning and things are up and running, there's going to be perhaps greater flexibility, say, from teaching staff. So teachers really want to be on the bus and see their kids and have that sort of face-to-face and kind of that reassuring opportunity. Principals want to do that. I actually plan on being on a bus, probably not tomorrow because I need to be checking in at schools and with teachers, but Friday I hope to be on a bus just checking in. And so I think we'll have even more people as the weeks go forward, depending on where we land with people not coming to work. So stay tuned. We'll definitely keep putting information out and putting requests out if we need that. So even be thinking about what sort of community connections do you have to pull in others to come and do this. I'm not super concerned about the volunteer process and background checks and all that stuff with this, because there are going to be at least one or two other people on the bus. The opportunity for sort of unsupervised time is really zero, so it's really just about sort of many hands make light work, and let's make sure that this gets done perhaps above all else, that we feed kids.
Did you have a question, Amy? No? All right. Anyone else? Okay. We'll keep moving on. We're down to our second public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay. So we are in need of an executive session. So if you who are virtually connecting with us, if you want to get yourself to a private place, that would be a good time, and we'll get the room cleared here and ready. So tonight we're in need of an executive session under Title I, VSA 313A3, the evaluation of an employee. Specifically tonight we're going to talk about the superintendent and compensation, so that is not something we do in public session. So we don't have to determine premature knowledge at this point, but we do need a motion to go into executive session, and it will just be us. We won't be, when we're finished, we won't be taking any action regarding this time, we will simply complete our meeting evaluation and adjourn the meeting. So, if I can have a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Andrew?
Andrew.
Okay.
Second, Sarah McLean.
All right. All right. All those in favor of going into executive session under Title I, VSA 5313A3, evaluation of an employee at 8:06, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?